Okay, so we've got the session all set up, and we need to start mixing. And, this may not be how you do it with music, but it's probably best to start with the dialogue. The dialogue is the most important thing in commercials, in most TV. So I'm just going to kind of select across all the tracks, and I'm going to hit mute. So I'm holding 2 to selected, Option and Shift, and I'm going to mute. Everything that's selected is muted. And I'm going to start with the dialogue, and you're going to find that on this particular project, it just sounds freaking horrible. Mostly it's actual production dialogue, and we're going to take a listen here. And I can't listen super loudly. I've got children sleeping next door, but there's our dialogue, and yeah, you may want to EQ and chase noises and all that, but that's not what I'm trying to demo in this particular mix. What I'm trying to demo is getting the workflow right. So I would start with a look ahead limiter, like a Waves L1, Waves L2, something like that. And if you're just running the free version of Pro Tools, the Maxim is going to be your boy again, because it's free. And it's a look ahead limiter. And I would say, tap this thing so it's -6 dB on peaks or whatever. And I don't really know what my outlet level is going to be like yet, so I'm not going to link them. And I'm going to compress this thing. I can bring it down so I start seeing about -6 dB of compression over here.
A new Ram 1500 with a new front end, new suspension, new frame. It's got a Hemi, all right, and that MDS to save you.
And you can see I've kind of getting about -6 dB. So that's squashing this dialogue track a fair amount, but not horrible. Look for the loudest spots here. And so yes, you're going to want to EQ this and make it sound better, but that limiter, and whether it becomes before or after your EQ, I just put it on first before your EQ, and this would kind of even out your dialogue and get it up louder. Now, the question, of course, with the output gain is how loud should it be? And that really has to do with you're trying to hit an average level of -24. So we're going to open up. We do have this other limiter going on. I'm going to leave this open. And one trick in Pro Tools is if you hit that little red button, it will stay open. We're going to open up our bus limiter as well. And it's actually layered on top of that. That's our bus limiter, and it's doing 3 dB of compression, and you can see we are tapping it slightly, and that's an acceptable amount. But we're really concerned with our output level here, so I'm going to hold Shift down, and I'm going to open up this plugin as well, which is pretty big. I wonder if I can make it smaller. Nah, there might be a way, but I don't really care. I'm going to reset this limiter. I believe the X is going to do that, and I'm going to kind of measure and see where I'm at. And you can see I'm averaging around -9, -7. Well, you're looking for an average commercial length level of -24. So I'm about 20 dB too hot. So I'm going to go back to this initial thing here. I'm going to bring that down a whole lot and just kind of level it out. And let's reset this again and see where we're at. Okay, cool. So I'm in the ballpark, right? So this is the level I'm going to mix to. I've essentially set my dialogue level to that I'm going to mix the rest of my music to the dialogue. Now, is this the best way to work? Well, I think so. In this particular spot may be difficult because there's very little dialogue, but it does give you a reference point. And if you're mixing TV, absolutely, you mix everything to the dialogue. So this is a good workflow. We got this started. Now, we want to turn on any ambience beds, kind of get the background, room tone, things that are going to glue together the vocal. And there really isn't much of that in this particular project. There is a truck going. You can see that that's quite loud, so maybe we would turn that down. And if I could put that on the ambience if I wanted to, if I really wanted to use that missing aux send. So, and we could bring that down. Cool. And obviously I'm going to tweak that later to taste, and EQ and all that, but I'm just getting the setup. So now we're going to mix the sound effects, and notice I'm not mixing the music, and I talked to Mike Hambrock about this, and he said, look, the music, don't want to denigrate it, but it's not as important as the sound effects and dialogue, so we do them in that particular order, and I was kind of surprised, but as a musician and a music guy, but whatever, that's what we're going to do. So I want to get these sound effects leveled, and one thing I forgot to mention about the dialogue, and this one you can tell the dialogue is pretty consistent, but something you may notice when you're working things like the cartoon project and other projects, is that the dialogue may be radically different in level. And if you do want to level out particular words, there are methods that are a lot faster than automation. You can move them to other tracks, that's one way. But one thing I would suggest is, did I just do something? Nope. One thing I would suggest is clip gain, and this is a really important skill to have. If you select a region and you Command E it, which makes a clip, I'm going to try to find that for you. Command E, where is it? I know it's Command E because I've been using it forever, but it makes a clip. Well, I can't tell you. Creates region, creates clip. I forgot where it is. Whatever. Command E, if you make it, you can take that region and notice that little volume control right there. Turn it down. This is a really quick way to edit things. Make them louder. Make a region here. Command E. All right, and boom. Dig. So I'm going to undo all of those things because this track doesn't really need it, but that's a really great skill. And while I'm at it, I got to show you clip effects as well. If I make a clip like that, up here, if you bring down this drop down and you bring up clip effects is a really quick way to do EQ that is non-destructive on a particular thing. Say you want a high pass for that clip only. Boom, you turn on the filter. Why isn't it working? Maybe because I haven't actually given it a 12 dB per octave. What have I done wrong? Oh, I had to turn it on. Look, I can drag it over. And I've essentially clip played that. I've clip gained, I have added EQ to that specific region. So you can do all kinds of cool things if you want to that particular effect, and it will note it there. There's a little EQ, and you can do dynamics as well and filters. I'm going to undo all that because I don't need to. I don't even need the separate clip, but I just wanted to show that to you. Okay? There we go. We're back to where we were. So now that I got that done, I'm going to move on, and we're going to do a little bit of dialogue mixing. And I don't really need dialogue mix. I'm going to hide this for now, so get rid of my clip effects. And I'm not going to go through this process with you because you can do this on your own, but obviously you're going to mix, and you can either use faders or clip gain. If you have multiple clips in one track, you probably want to use clip gain, but quick things to do is just, turn them up or down and level. Obviously our truck effects has gotten quite loud, so we'll bring that back down. And I'm gonna mix these other sound effects, and easy way to do this is literally open them all up. Command Shift, there, I've opened them all up, and kind of play through this and turn them down as needed. That one needs to come down.
Get me closer, man. I smell a Hemi.
And, gotta bring that one down a bunch.
I knew it. The new Ram.
And obviously watching the video is gonna help here as well. Give you some context to how loud things should be.
It's got a Hemi, all right.
Now, can I make that video smaller? Oh, yes, I can.
A new interior.
Oh, so the flap should be kind of loud.
Sweet.
So you're going to work through these sound effects. Maybe that one's a little loud. And you're going to get them balanced. Once you've got them balanced, you've got this master over here that later you can tweak and say, you know what, I need a little bit more sound effects, I need a little bit more sound effects, or maybe I just need a little bit more dialogue. And as these things balance, of course, you're going to use some EQ, you might need some reverb, you might need some other effects on these. The assignment might require something specific. But you do want to keep visiting this master level and see where you're at. And you can kind of see that with the sound effects, we may actually have creeped up in level here across the commercial. Your goal is for the length of the commercial to hit -24, and you can always change the gain, the output level here, and we're not really hitting this at all now. Looks like it could be a little louder. I'm going to bring up the dialogue. So it hasn't been balanced yet, right? The sound effects are way too loud, so we're going to have to work through that. But your job here is to tickle the limiter and make sure your output ends up -24 with a good mix. Now, with that done, I would just keep working through and keep returning to the limiter and returning to the meter and kind of aiming for that, because that's what TV mixers do. The last step, of course, is let's get into the music. I'll flip the page here, make sure I got the right instructions here. And we want to get through the music and open her up. I would say mute everybody else. So really quickly, we can mute these other things here. And the music's probably way too loud. So you're going to open up the music channels and do the old mixing. Oh my gosh, it's loud. So you may even start by bringing down the master here. And do your music mixing thing, soul the kick drum and EQ it, compress it, all your thing, and balance these guys out and get it to sound good. And I don't know, that's a stem of rhythm guitar, so you're going to have to make that sound awesome. So do your music mixing thing, and you've got your master here, and that master alone probably helped me out. And we need more dialogue. And if I remember that last time around, remember the crashes were too loud? So I've got to find the crashes. I think that was there, that track, so we didn't bring that down. And the vocal, the dialogue always needs to be louder than you think. It really does. The dialogue is the most important thing. So, oh boy, that one's loud too. And so, meanwhile, keep going over here and seeing what your average level is. Look, we're at minus 18, so it's building up. So I'm probably going to want to bring down either my master here or bring it down here. This might even compress it a little bit more, which is good, and maybe unlink them. And every time you change the master level, you're going to need to reset with this X here so that it starts integrating all the levels.